I quit drinking. Now what? Today, we are going to talk about what to expect after you stop drinking. Terry and I were both alcoholics. We're still kind of alcoholics. I don't know. I don't want to test the theory by drinking and figuring out I still am an alcoholic. It's really not worth it. But we've been alcoholics for quite some time. We've been sober for about six and a half years each. And we're going to talk to you about what we expected versus what was reality when we stopped drinking. Now, it's very important at the outset of this video to let you know that if you've been drinking any amount that is dangerous, which is literally any amount, you should definitely see a doctor when looking to quit drinking because detox can be deadly. So make sure you go to your doctor, figure out what's going on, be honest with him about how much you've been drinking, and then come back and watch these videos because we're going to help you stay sober for the long haul. We're going to help you understand what you need to know so that you cannot drink because as alcoholics, we rely on alcohol for pretty much everything. When we get sad, when we get angry, when we get lonely, when we're tired, when we're bored, when we celebrate, when we're angry at something. I think I already said that one. But we literally drink twice when we're angry, right? So there you go. What we want to do is we want to talk to you about what to expect when you quit drinking. Because when I quit drinking or set out to quit drinking, I had this huge expectation of my life being wonderful. I thought there was going to be brand new cars in the driveway. Thought my house was going to be paid off. I thought the IRS was going to call me and say, "You don't need to pay taxes anymore, little sober buddy." But that wasn't the case. And I actually found out that life got better. There was a hidden gem in sobriety that changed my life into something better than I thought imaginable. And we're going to talk to you about that today. So Terry, how you doing today? And what was your expectation when you decided to get sober?
I'm doing well today. It's going to be a hot day today. We got the old imminent power shutoffs and fire danger and all that, but things are okay for me because I'm sober and life is all right. When I was thinking about getting sober, or when I was desperate to get sober, I should say more accurately, I was thinking when I get sober, I'm going to become successful and rich and everything's going to be great. I'm going to get all those toys that I wanted and all that. And my expectations were almost 100% materialistic. I didn't think at all about just the fact that my mind would be clear. I'd be happy.
Wait a minute. I think they can't hear you, so let's see. Let's try the sound now.
How are you all doing? Can you guys hear me now? Can't hear. Sounds
It should be working now.
okay.
Pretty sure, yeah.
All right. So, anyways, I'm doing well.
Good to hear.
Let's see. I expected that life would become great. I'd get all those toys that I wanted. I didn't think about. You still can't hear me. Looks like.
You're good. Yeah, it's just delayed.
Okay, I'm good. All right.
I think. Wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah, we are having technical difficulties. My camera didn't work in the beginning, and we just got lots of stuff. So let me see if I can fix this here. Where's our sound? Why is it not working? You know what? I think it's in Skype. Give me a second. All right, we will continue on with the show in just a minute. We got some audio issues. So let's see. Audio and video, microphone, speakers. Let's go to... where'd it go? This is why y'all need to buy our course so we can get this stuff ironed out. Okay, let's see if that is working. Terry, you want to say something? Are you there? Let me see. Maybe you're in my headphones. Are you there, Terry?
Hello. Am I here?
Can everyone hear Terry? Type Terry in the box if you can hear Terry, who just became like super giant.
Can you guys hear me? How you all doing? Good to see everybody here. Hopefully we get this fixed. Let me know. Type Terry if you can hear me.
Okay, hopefully that is working now.
I hope this works. I really want to talk about this topic.
Yeah, me too. We'll have to do some editing.
Oh, that's
let's
better.
see.
Perfect. Yes. All right, we're good.
Okay, we're good. All right, so talk away about the topic. Sorry, guys.
I forgot what I was talking about. No.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you. Glad you can finally hear us. We were talking about what we expected, and Marcus asked me what did I expect before I got sober? What did I expect was going to happen when I got sober? And I thought life was just going to become great, and I was going to get rich, and this and that, and everybody was going to love me, and most of what I thought was really materialistic. I thought I was going to get all these things in life, and they were just going to be handed to me. And as you guys probably realize, that doesn't happen, and it didn't happen for me. But a lot of great things did happen, and things that I didn't expect, which was I became grateful for what I have, and I became happy in life. Just my attitude and my whole perspective on life changed, and that was probably the greatest gift that I could have gotten from getting sober, was just happiness, really. And now, don't get me wrong, I wasn't I had a little bit of a pink cloud, but there were still things. I'd done damage from my drinking, and there were things I had to work through. But being sober, I was able to work through them, so I could almost, not quite right when I got sober, but almost see a light at the end of the tunnel. At least I was able to see a way to start to work on these things that I had done in my drinking days, and that was just freedom right there. It was amazing. So yeah, it was not what I expected at all when I got sober. What happened wasn't at all what I expected. And now
Absolutely.
there's different things depending on if you are addicted to alcohol. Right when you get sober, it's dangerous, and you really got to go see a doctor or somebody that specializes in addiction to take care of those things. Withdrawals can be deadly. They almost were deadly for me. So that's one thing that we have to stress here, is that this stuff is not to be messed around with. If you're having any of those detox symptoms, which I'll just go over a few of them real quick, but that's the first thing you need to deal with when stopping alcohol. And some of there's psychological symptoms like the anxiety and bad dreams and depression, and you can't think real clearly, and fatigue, and maybe you're nervous or irritable, and you get these rapid, like, emotional changes and shakes. All that stuff are symptoms of withdrawal, and you get the physical symptoms, which can be dangerous and deadly, as I said. And that's like your blood pressure can go through the roof, and you get the headaches and insomnia, and you're not hungry or nausea, and like rapid heart rate, sweating. And as I said, the shakiness already, but one of the big withdrawal symptoms, that it doesn't happen for everybody, but some people get the DTs, called delirium tremens. And those are extremely dangerous. They say a good percentage of people end up in the hospital, and some die from it. And that's where you can get confusion and hallucinations and just all the other things that I said, but just on a higher level. And that's where the danger comes in, is we don't know when we're going through those how dangerous it is for us, because we're going through it. We're not a doctor. That's why it's important to see a doctor. But after that, after those dangerous things can happen, and you start to level out a little bit, all those things get better. Like for me, I had high blood pressure when I was drinking. I don't have high blood pressure anymore. I lost a bunch of weight. I don't have those mood swings. All those things, they just got better, and they got better fairly quickly. Things like sleep. I know a lot of people have talked about sleep, not being able to sleep after they quit drinking. I wasn't able to sleep very well, but it came. And now, after a month or so, my sleep started to get pretty good, and I sleep fine now. And, things like that. Things just got so much better. My outlook on life got better, as I've already said, but just things, I was able to get along with people a lot better. and not sit there and judge them and judge what they're doing wrong and look at everything in a negative light. Just being happy made me look at the world a little bit differently and allowed me to, just be happier. So
Yeah, and I think too is, what I expected sobriety to give me and what I got was two different things. Because when I was drinking, I was very staunch in my opinions, judgments, and what I thought about other people and ideas, right? I would have ideas about politics. I would have ideas about finance. I would have ideas about how you should live your life. And I was right. In my mind, I was right. And I would put on the boxing gloves over this stuff. And I realized when I got sober that everything that I held so dear, all my opinions that I thought made up who I was as a person, was absolute BS. It was not true. It was not real. And it's funny because I had to get to the point where, Terry talks about delirium tremens, and I had those. I saw things, I heard things, I was confused, I didn't know where I was for many days. And this was after I was in a mental institute for 4 hours. I talked them out of having me stay there because I was scared to death of being in this place. And I didn't want to sleep there because it was scary if you've ever been in one. And when I got out of it, I realized, they put people in mental institutes because something's wrong mentally. Usually everything's wrong mentally. And in my case, everything was wrong. I had made up an idea of what I thought the world should be and how the world should bend around my will. And just to show you an example, when we started this stream, so before we started this stream, we were on a little bit late. My camera was not working. I tried all the video cards. I tried everything. Nothing was working. I was already a little irritated. And then we get on here and the audio's not working. Now, 7 years ago, if this was one of my live streams and I was still drinking, you guarantee there would have been a coffee cup thrown through the window. I would have been very irritated. I probably would have shut it down and not done it because I would have felt like, hey, I'm the guy on the show. This should be a professional thing. We should have a director in a seat. What's going on? And so I had this outlook that life should work around me, that I was the only person that was important in my life, and you needed to do what I needed you to do, or you were wrong. And what I realized in sobriety is that, there's 8 billion people on planet Earth, and you and your issues and your problems, as big as they might seem, are just a little pinprick on the canvas of life. It's nothing. It's a blip. And we can look at that. And if you had told me this 6 years ago, 7 years ago when I was drinking, and you said, Marcus, you're a blip on the canvas of life, I would have said, what the hell are you talking about? I'm an entrepreneur. I make things work. We make the world go round. I do this. I do that. The world can't live without me. And when I went in rehab for 30 days, I realized about 20, 25 days in that the world had not fallen apart without me in it. And I also realized that when I got up to share with other alcoholics and they gave me a stone cold face, right? I was used to sharing my story. People would weep. They'd pat me on the back. They'd give me advice. They'd say, oh, poor guy, or hey, good job. And here I was sharing my heart and soul in front of people anxiously with anxiety going through the roof, and I get no response. And that to me was the most freeing thing in the world. Realizing that the world doesn't revolve around me. Realizing that this one issue, like someone was saying, they're worried about staying sober through Christmas. Well, what is Christmas other than a man-made holiday, a day where we put up a tree and some lights and some presents? Is basically like a way to sell stuff. That's what it is. It's a commercialized holiday. It did not start until capitalism was like in full swing and people were like, hey, we need to have some money here. And what better way than to use religion to get people to buy stuff? And apparently that's a really good way to make money. Ethics, not so sure on that. But we look at that and it doesn't really mean anything, because what means something is today, because all you have is today. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We all get in cars every day. Some of us get in cars after drinking. Not a good idea. Don't do it. Call the Uber. Call the Uber ahead. If you know you're going to drink, be like, hey, Uber, pick me up at this time. Or whatever. You can just push a button and they'll pick you up right then and there. But there is no excuse for that. But we don't know what's going to happen. We have no idea. I got a doctor appointment tomorrow. He can give me bad news. He can give me good news. There could be no news. We don't know. And once we realize that we are just one piece of the puzzle of life, then everything gets free. Because there's no magic thing that I possess or that I am. I'm just one, just like you. There is no difference between me and you watching. And if I went through life like you went through life, and I drank and I got where you're at now, I would think and be exactly who you are. We are all products of what life has dealt to us and how we've dealt with it. We are all products of where we're at. And unfortunately, a lot of us are products of alcoholism. You take the most upstanding guy in the world, you know, like take the Pope or whoever you look up to, right? And you give him as much alcohol as you've drank, dude's going to become an alcoholic. That's how it works. You take the most upstanding, smartest, brightest, brilliant child, you put him through a childhood like some of us have had, you're going to get the same outcome. That's why they call these things abuse, because they affect people for long terms. Alcohol abuse affects us for long terms. And while we talk about the delirium tremens and the thought changes and the anxiety and the stuff that you should go to the doctor for, go to the doctor, go to talksober.com. We got resources on where to go, what to do, all that kind of stuff. But we hardly ever talk about the long-term effects of what drinking does to your brain. Because drinking, in an extreme example, right? I have a grandma, or had a grandma. She passed about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. She was married 16 times. A lot of people are like, are you sure it was 16? I'm like, yeah, it's 14 legally, 16 that we think, right? So here's this lady, she's married a ton of times. She's an alcoholic. She wrote a book about how she is the secret Indian princess, and no one realizes it. She came from royalty, and I'm like, yeah, I met Grandpa Boop. That's what we called him, Grandpa Boop, and he wasn't royalty. I'll tell you right now, Grandpa Boop was a great guy, alcoholic, bootlegger, crazy dude, but he wasn't royalty, and I don't even think he was even part Native American. And so she wrote this book because she lived in a dream world. Her world revolved around her because alcohol made it so. And this is something we don't talk about a lot, and it does affect us. And when we start to get sober, one of the things we can expect is a sober mind. A mind that looks at things rationally. We talk about this all the time on the channel, where we talk about the difference between the guy who gets sober and he's in the back of the meeting and he's got his arms crossed and he's pissed off because I can't drink anymore. Right? That's what we call a dry drunk. Someone who just thinks he can't drink anymore. But the fact of the matter is we can all drink. We can all go. We can go to the bar as long as we're of age and everything, right? But we look at that and our mindset gets changed, and we can be the type of sober person that Terry and I found accidentally. I thought I was going to be the guy who's like, I can't drink. This sucks. But I actually found out I don't want to drink anymore. I don't care about it anymore. I care about the life that I've worked hard to build through following a plan, if you're following the steps, if you're following whatever it is, or even if you're just doing meditation or whatever. But the new life you get is a game changer. And that's one of the things you can expect if you stick with it. If you don't stick with it long enough, because for the first 90 days, you're probably going to want to drink when things happen. Probably going to get in a fight with the spouse and be like, ah, man, I want to go to the bar. I don't know how to deal with this. Someone dies. I want to go to the bar. I don't know how to deal with this. But you're going to find out that throughout time, it gets better. Like Megan, I remember Megan coming on and she'd be, oh, got 15 days. Oh, relapsed. Now I got 0. She came today. She said, I got 520 days sober. And I guarantee there are blessings and there are things that happened in her life that she never thought possible. She never thought this would have happened the way it did.
Yes, indeed. You know, one thing I thought before I got sober, is I thought that getting sober, my life was just going to become boring. I wasn't going to be able to do anything. You know, Chocolate talked about what do you do about the friends you lose, and I was like, well, I'm going to lose all my friends because I drink with them all, and they're not going to want to hang out with me and all that. What am I going to do? I'm going to be bored. I'm going to just sit at home and watch bad TV. When in reality, when I was drinking, that's what I was doing. I was sitting at home drinking and watching bad TV. And I thought my life was okay at that point. And in reality, what happened is I got sober and I started hanging out with other sober alcoholics. I got more friends now than I ever had. And you know, all those drinking friends, they're no longer drinking friends, but they're friends. You know, sure, some of them I don't hang out with because the only thing we did was go drink. But, you know, all of them, I still, you know, Facebook them and wish them happy birthdays and things like that. And a lot of them I still do stuff with. I just do stuff during the day that doesn't have to do with alcohol. We don't go to those beer festivals together. If they're going, that's great. If I see them at a festival, then I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to hang out with them by the beer tent, you know. And it's okay. Life is just so much better sober. It's just such a better way to approach life. Don't have to. I've built this life that I don't have to run from, and that's really important, and that helps me a lot every day. And that's the best thing that happens that Marcus was just talking about. This life we don't have to run away from. It's important.
Yep. And you find serenity. You find calmness in the midst of crazy stuff. 7 years ago, if the whole stuff happened, with the virus and things like that, I would have had to drink every day. I still had to drink every day. And now I just get through it. I say, hey, you know what? What can I control? What can't I control? And how can I be calm in the midst of it? Cody says 9 months sober, life-changing physically and mentally. All of the anxiety I used to have has almost disappeared. Same with me. I do still get anxiety sometimes, but it's way manageable, and it's not. I don't have to stay home anymore, right? I can go out and I can deal with stuff. He says he has so much focus and energy going into better things, and he's so thankful. He used to watch us all the time, and it helped so much. Also went to outpatient rehab. Awesome, yeah. And that's what we're looking at here is your life can get better. It can. Because, I mean, you look at it, and how's drinking working for you? For me, if I was honest with myself, it wasn't working for me.
No.
It was not making my life better. I thought it did in some instances, but the fact of the matter is I didn't have a better tool. That was my best tool. That was in 34 years of life. That was the best I could come up with, was drinking my ass off through everything. Drinking through everything. And now I look at it and I'm like, wow, I could like sit and be calm and I don't need a substance. I can deal with being sad and I don't need to drink. I could deal with being happy. I don't need to drink. I could deal with stress. I don't need to drink. I can simply relax. I can change my thoughts. And the thing is our thoughts have been programmed by our upbringing, by our drinking, by our society. And now the blessing that sobriety gives you is you get to choose your new thoughts, right? Because no matter how you look at it, you're brainwashed one way or another. Like your current thinking was put into you by all the stuff that happened in your life. It's all there. And even my new way of thinking is still subject to that. But now I realize I can choose to think about what I want to think about. And I could choose to put new thoughts in my brain, whether it's reading the big book, reading your Bible, listening to talks, reading self-help or psychology or philosophy. I love philosophy. That has been a game changer in my sobriety, is being able to look at what's going on. Or David says low self-esteem, right? Self-esteem comes from doing esteemable acts. You want better self-esteem? Go help someone.
Yep.
Go help someone, even if you're struggling or whatever. Help them out. Go feed people at the soup kitchen, right? A game changer. It will change the way you think of things. It will change the way you look at your life and people, because we look at this and we're looking to get self-esteem outside of ourselves, right? Like the new car, that'll mean I've arrived. The new house, the promotion at our job, the esteem of other people. And we're looking outside of us to get what's been in us all along. And we got to look at it and we got to understand that what you're searching for, you have. You have the ability to be calm right now. You have the ability to be okay right now. You have the ability to make it through every situation in your life without drinking. You already have it. And what we're doing is we're searching for things. Oh, Marcus and Terry have the answer. Oh, AA's got the answer. This has the answer. That has the answer. And we look at it and we're looking outside, but we got to turn it inside. And they say, if you study gurus, this is my personal take on enlightenment gurus. Okay, you look at all your people. I personally like to look at how things were done in India. I like India gurus. I think there's really interesting stuff there. And it's funny because you hear these stories of this guy who goes to India to find himself and to get a new life. And he goes and he tells the guru everything about his, oh, you don't understand. I got this job and I got the stock market and I got all these things. And the guy doesn't understand it because this guy sits in a cloth on a bench in India and eats grapes and drinks chai tea. He doesn't know what the stock market is. He doesn't know what all this other stuff is. And he probably giggles like, that's interesting. Stock market. You want to end your life over the stock market? What is a stock market? And what happens is he looks at it and he's like, I don't buy your stuff. I don't buy it because I don't see it. And he realizes that everything that you're stressed about is all made up in your mind. Everything. Think about the last 100 things you worried about. Finances, relationships. And think about them. It's all mostly a figment of your imagination. But the fact of life is people come, people go. Things are good, things are bad. Bad things happen to bad people. Bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people. And around we go. And we're all here on this rock, spinning 24,000 miles an hour, I think it is, something crazy, in the middle of the sky. And I'm sitting here stressing myself out about a bank account balance, about a breakup. Right? And we look at it, and there's some people, single people, they're like, hey, where do we meet people? I'm never going to meet the right person. And it's like there's 8 billion people on Earth. I think one of them's got to be right. And what we do is we pan out from our life because right now we're living in it. Right? My grandma, she had this story, I'm the Indian princess and I need to have this and I need a new husband and I'm going broke and this is the way life is. And she lived in this little bubble of her life instead of branching out and saying there's so much more out there. Right? All I'm doing is focusing, and the mind is like a lens and you get what you focus on. It's all it is. Right? If I get my telescope and I look at Jupiter and that's all I look at, I'm going to think that the only thing in the sky is Jupiter. But if I step away from it and go, wait a minute, there's stars out there and there's a sun and there's a moon and there's clouds and there's this Earth, even though I can't see the Earth through my telescope, that does exist. And we go through life unable to understand what our life is made up of. Right? There's a great book called The Fish in the Water, or something about the fish in the water isn't thirsty or something like that. Interesting book. Good title. Right? And the idea is you can't describe water to a fish because he lives in it. Until you take him out, he's not going to understand what it is. And sobriety takes us out and makes us understand that everything we worry about, someone says they're worried about Christmas because they got a lot of shame and guilt. Well, Christmas is just a day. That's all it is. It's December 25th, right? And New Year's, people, oh, it's a new year, it's a new life, it's a new me. It's nothing. It doesn't even exist. Calendars are just made up ways of putting things in boxes. And all our life is about is putting things in boxes. And when I was drinking, I would put people in boxes and say they're bad. I'd put finances in boxes and say this is good. And I put everything in boxes and I wasn't really living life. I was just talking about it and thinking about it. I didn't really live. And when I got sober, I learned to really live. And I'll end my monologue there so Terry could talk.
That was very philosophical. I don't know if I can philosophize, I don't know the word, you. Anyways, I like what you said, Marcus. That's great. And, you know, one of the things you said is you get what you get what you focus on. And that's also a big game changer for me. And the first thing that I had to do was learn what not to focus on, and what to focus on. So focus on the things I can control, and let those other things I can't control go away. Everybody's talking about politics right now. Everybody. I sure I know what's going on. I keep myself informed, but I don't sit there and focus on it 24 hours a day. And that allows me some serenity. But the other thing, the thing I really try to focus on is that gratitude and the things that I have. Or like, okay, so I go to a lot of the Zoom meetings, the AA Zoom meetings. I do those. And, I go to a lot of the same ones, and the same people talk every time at every one of those. And sometimes it's just like, oh, again, this guy talks forever, and they talk about nothing. I could focus on that. But no, I choose not to. Why? Why? This person's just helping themselves, and I'm just listening. And if I don't like what they say, I don't have to listen to it. I got two screens. I can look at Facebook, or I can do something else. It's, I focus on what people have to offer. Even these people that might be driving me crazy a little bit, they usually say something that's pertinent to me, that I can relate to, and it helps me a lot. And so I try to focus on those positive things. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes in our lives we got so much crap that's going on that it's hard to try to focus on the good things. But sometimes that's the way out of that trouble. At least for me, that's my experience that I've had. But sometimes the things are just so bad that we just can't get out of it. But I just keep trying to push forward, focusing on the good, focusing on what I can do to make things better. If they don't work out, make myself available to change what I'm doing, and just be open to whatever I can do. As long as I'm being honest and I'm willing to do what it takes, things usually go in the right direction. And that's what I found.
Yeah.
So.
Mama Lisa says, does anyone just cry for no reason in recovery, or is this crazy mama here? I have stronger emotions. Yes, I got very strong emotions when I first got sober.
Yeah.
And I probably cried a little bit more than I'd like to admit, because, I'm a big, strong man here. You can't cry. But I used to not cry over anything until I got drunk, and then I cried over everything, and then I got sober, and then I cried about some things. But I think some of it was the loss of the person I had become. Like, I had to grieve who I was and let that person go. A fantastic, wonderful book that I want to do a dialogue on. Maybe Terry, if you want to do one, we can read it together and go through it. Is Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Mm-hmm. I think this book is probably my favorite book of all, and you guys see I got a lot of books, so it's probably my favorite one of all time. I've read it 4 or 5 times. I've listened to it on audio more times than I can count. And without spoiling it, the book is about grieving who you once were. And it's about grieving the person that you thought you were and who you are now. And there is a grief process. There is a process of, wow, this is what I was, and this is who I want to be now. And I think that a lot of that is you are open to new emotions, right? Because we can't drink them out anymore. We don't want to, because it's not going to help. And so it's important. Hannah Lore, good to have you here. I think you're new. There was a couple new people here. I think there was Cody and someone else in there as well. I want to acknowledge them. Danon, I think you're new. And one other one. Who was it? It was way up here somewhere. But it's good to see you guys here. Jessica, Kev, good to see you guys here. But Hannah Lore was saying, I went to a restaurant lately and we had to wait very long time. It seems like they forgot us. I was almost crying from frustration. Well, we have to look at that, and we have to understand that sometimes when we have to wait for things, it's a blessing in disguise, right? What if that time you could sit and you can realize that I'm going to be okay? Like, maybe my blood sugar's low and I need to eat, but I can sit here and I can listen to a talk. Or I could sit here and I could read something on my phone that's uplifting or good. Try to stay away from social media and stuff, because I don't think social media is productive for anyone. I think it's if you ask me my personal opinion, I think it's going to be a big downfall of society, if not already. It's certainly threatening our democracy. But at any rate, look at that time of, okay, I have to wait this time. I don't need to cry from frustration. It's just, I mean, the lady who's taken your party down and saying where you need to go, she's just as frustrated as you. Right? There's no, like, playbook for this stuff. And realize that, you know what, you're not the only person. There's tons of other people that need to eat. Around the world, there's probably 1 million people waiting in line to get their food or whatever it is. Be thankful. I can wait. I can sit here, and I can pay for my food. Do you know how many people on Earth can't pay for their food? It's disgustingly sad. Cry for them. Don't cry for you. And I realize that it can be difficult, and it can get frustrating. But if we sit and we put our feet flat on the ground, and we realize, I'm just sitting here on a rock that's spinning 24,000 miles an hour or whatever it is through space. There's 8 billion other people on planet Earth. I'm going to be okay. And I don't need to drink today. Because whether I drink or whether I don't, the Earth still spins. And I know that when I drink, my world is a lot worse. My thoughts are a lot worse. My feelings are a lot worse. And I can be calm. And maybe in the moment of frustration, you could do a test. Let someone go ahead of you. Say, hey, there's a family with a kid. Why don't you guys go ahead of me? I'm going to sit here and I'm going to be in my calm place. Because I can. Because I choose to be. Because I choose to see the world in a different way. Because I choose not to just look at me. Oh, this happened to me. I lost my job. I got this. Me, I. Instead, we say, this is us. I don't know how everything fits together. I don't know what I believe about God. But I do believe that we're all here together and we're all here to try to make the best for each other. Whether that means giving a helping hand, whether that means just being sober, whatever that means, the mantra I keep dear to me is everything is okay right now. Everything's okay right now. Sometimes difficult things happen. Sometimes frustrating things happen. Sometimes you get on the freeway and there are less than kind, courteous people on the freeway. But I'm okay. My car's still going. I still got gas. I still know where I'm going to go. Might be a little late. That's all right. Stuff happens. Life goes on. And when you pan out and you stop looking at everything as me, and you start looking at we, us, life, sobriety, breath, air. Like there's a freaking tree out there. It came from the ground. Like, when did we stop looking at the marvel of this stuff? Like, I got a dog, and she's crazy, and she's nutty, and she likes to squeak her squeaky toy when we're trying to watch a movie. But there's this amazing animal. What if I just stopped and took that person in for a minute, or took that animal in for a minute, or experienced a tree, rather than just say, I got to get that damn tree cut. This could be $1,000. Got to cut that tree. But instead, I just went and I was like, hey, life's okay right now. We're all right. Gonna be okay.
Being in the restaurant industry, I've experienced that many times. For me, being in the restaurant industry, I know many servers and things like that. So I'll go to their, a lot of servers, they work at a couple different restaurants, and I'll go to their other restaurant or whatever, and yeah, being their friend, I'm usually the first one to be ignored because they know I can handle it when they're super busy. That's just what happens. And so I've learned to accept that, and it's okay. And then, I'm the type of person in our area, my wife and I will go out to dinner, and sometimes we're in and out of there in like 45 minutes. And, other parts of the world, especially like Europe and things like that, dinner's several hours. And, in my trips to Europe, I had to get used to it when I get there. And, oh, yeah, that's right. People go out to dinner as an experience here. And I'm sure many of you have been to Europe. Maybe some of you live in Europe and you understand that, and that dinner is an experience, and it's wonderful like that. And I just try to kick back and enjoy the experience. That's how I would approach that. But yeah, I understand when you're ignored, or like back when I used to drink, knowing the bartender, and then they just ignore you and ignore you. It's like, come on, man, I'm one of your best customers. No, sometimes it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And had to learn to accept it. But
yeah. And I think it's all about, now that we're sober, we get to experience life without the filters. The filters would say, this is bad, that guy's bad, this is happening. You ever meet that person where they think everything bad is happening to them? Like, I remember I had an employee years ago, and we went to lunch once, and she's like, everyone's looking at me. They're thinking bad about me. And I'm like, no one is. That guy's eating shrimp. He doesn't care what you're doing. He doesn't care. He's not looking at you bad. He probably doesn't even know you came in. Right? It doesn't matter. And when we get out of our head, which is a difficult thing to do, but also the easiest thing in the world to do, right? Getting out of our head makes us live. It makes us understand, hey, I can go and I could like pet my dog, or I could feel the grass, or I could chill, or I could relax, or I could eat food for the first time, right? Like, not really for the first time, but for the first time experiencing it, for the first time enjoying it, and understanding, hey, wow, these are amazing things. Like, every day the sun comes up. That's pretty freaking amazing.
I'll be
like,
right
I can
back.
count on that.
Write something down.
Right? And I can understand what's going on. And when I realize that no matter what goes on in life, I can just be okay. I can chill. I can relax. Alone in Another World says, I'm like Homer Simpson. I cannot stop. Welcome to the world of alcoholism. We're all here because at one point we probably couldn't stop. But the fact of the matter is sometimes you need help to stop. Go get the help you need. Focus on that. Because drinking and detox can be absolutely deadly. David says, mid-40s, falling over while drunk, you have to quit. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the definition of an alcoholic is someone who continues to drink despite negative consequences in their life. So there's negative stuff happening because of your drinking, and you continue to drink. I would say falling over is probably a negative consequence. I didn't like it when that happened to me, and it was dangerous and all kinds of things with it. So you got to look at it and say, are there negative consequences, and why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep doing this? Well, you're doing it because chemical dependency is a thing. It affects us. It makes us feel like we need it to live. It makes us feel like we need it to breathe. I got to the point where I would have rather have alcohol than food. I would have rather had alcohol than anything. And that's a very difficult place to be. But we do get better, we do recover, and we can get out of it.
Danon says, 16-year server here. Terry, sobriety's been a huge change with that job. I couldn't wait for the end of shift drink. Yeah, I have a friend he's what is he? I think he's 15 years sober, and he's been a server the whole time. And I went to his restaurant, and my wife and I did. My wife can have a glass of wine. Actually, she'll drink half a glass and leave the other half there, which I never understood. But he's perfectly fine doing that job. Recommending wines. He recommended a wine for her, and she loved it and all that. And yeah, it's interesting how, we can still, some people can't be around the alcohol, and in the beginning you should definitely stay away from it, but eventually they can just go back to what they were doing before in their career, and that's what I found.
Absolutely. And while we're getting the other ones, Crystal says she hasn't been there in a while. Yeah, Crystal, I remember seeing you a while back, 643 days sober. Congrats
Right
on
on.
that. Also, for everyone listening, we do have a program that you can go through to help you get sober. Again, it's not like, we're not doctors or anything. We're just sharing our experience and what's worked for us. And apparently from the chat, it seems to be helping a lot of people understand how sobriety works. You can go over to talksober.com, click on the big yellow button, join our class. It'll help support the channel here. and help us reach lots of other people. You can also get a private sobriety call with me and Terry. These are actually better than I thought. And we had one of them last week. I think it was our first one last week. And the guy got on, told us his story. We gave him some tips and listened to him and everything like that. It was a great call. Gave him lots of ideas for staying sober. I think he was on 10 days, and now he's on day 15, which is pretty cool. You can actually get a call with just me and Terry on Zoom if you want to do that. That also helps support the channel, and all kinds of other stuff over at talksober.com to help you get and stay sober. Again, that's talksober.com. You can also smash the like button and help this video go out to more people as well.
David,
Megan,
I was going to answer David's question.
Yep.
He said, "Hey, Terry, how many times did you try to get sober before it actually stuck?" Just curious. To be honest, I tried almost every day those last couple of years. But as far as serious tries, I went to the doctor once a few years before I got sober. They gave me meds, and I didn't do anything else other than took the meds, so I was able to quit for like 2 weeks. And then I started again. And I made a serious attempt another time, and then, of course, then there were the half-ass attempts every once in a while, every month or so. Go for half a day. But, yeah, that's about it. But I know many people that have tried many, many times. The person that that was in charge at the rehab that Marcus and I went to, he went to rehab 13 times before he was finally to get some time in. And I think he's around 30 years sober now. But someone on here, I think there's somebody on here, I don't want to call them out, but they were sober 23 years, and they went out and started drinking again, and it's tough. It can happen to anybody, but the key is it doesn't matter what you've done in the past, how many times you've tried in the past. Many people get sober the very first time and they stay sober, so that's great right there. Many people it takes a few times or a lot of times, but the key is start where you are right now and do what you have to do. If you were sober before, realize that you have to do something different because you didn't stay sober that time. That you may have to pick it up, do more, or whatever, but you might have to do something different. But start where you are right now. You get sober today. You never have to drink again, starting right now.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to feel how you feel anymore. That's the big blessing. Like, I don't have to feel that way. Megan says, I feel like there must be some disorder where you think everyone is watching and scrutinizing you. Yeah, it's probably a form of narcissism, which narcissism, even though it has some bad connotations and everything, it's usually created by, as you say, like being bullied, family members bullying, childhood, stuff like that. It definitely makes us more susceptible to thinking about us because for me, I dealt with a lot of stuff like that growing up, in the family, out of the family, and it put me on guard. And it's a protection mechanism. Narcissism is a protection mechanism. You're trying to protect yourself from the outside world, so you're thinking about yourself and, oh, this guy's looking at me, that person's looking at me, I better watch out for this. And it makes you crazy vigilant. I remember one time when my kids were young, one of them fell, and I was in mid-sentence, and I caught him, and everyone was like, how the hell did you do that? I'm like, well, for some reason my brain is wired to see things very fast. Another time we were in a restaurant, and this kid was in a high chair and pushing against the table and swinging back and forth, and I was able to catch them even in mid-sentence and stuff like that. So it does have good things and it does have bad things. And I remember thinking that it was something wrong with me. And I think one of the more damaging things our culture does is it looks at issues as something's wrong with you, right? You would never go to someone with like a terminal illness and be like, what the hell's wrong with you? Well, there's something wrong with their body. So why is it any different with our mind? Right? Now, our mind, luckily, we can look at it, but what we need thoughts outside our mind to fix it. You're not going to be able to fix it in it. Like a narcissist can't fix narcissism by thinking about it because they're going to think in the world of narcissism. They think they need something outside to say, hey, look, this isn't the way it has to be. And I think it's important to look at that. Let's see, Sick 86 Stang. I'm guessing you have a pretty cool Mustang. I do like Mustangs. I wasn't a big fan of the 80s years, although I don't remember what 86s look like, but I think they're pretty cool. I have 6 months sober. Awesome. Congrats.
Congrats. I think those had the 5.0 liter, something like that. I don't
I
know.
think so. Yeah. My wife, when we
Pretty
met,
fast.
she had a Mustang with a 4-cylinder. I was like, they make that? I think it was fun. I can't judge though. My car was pretty slow. I think it had like a couple of horsepowers, like maybe one or a half of one. Maybe it had like a hoof power. It was not fast.
I've had my share of ridiculous cars. Yes. Where was the comment that I was going to say? Talk about. What advice can you give to someone who has very strong cravings a few months after quitting? Yeah, the cravings a few months after, it can be tough. And get into a program of some sort. Do everything you can to stay sober. I know that's easy for me to say. But, the other thing is other interests. Like for me, I've always cycled. I even was a cyclist when I was drunk. But I did that because I did a lot of that just because it takes a lot of time up in my day. I try to stay busy, work on my house or whatever, or walk the dog, hike, walk. I've said all this probably every webinar, but that's a real important thing in my sobriety is taking care of those interests that I used to do, the things that I did while that didn't have anything to do with alcohol, because I also love to go to the bar and shoot pool. Well, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to go to the bar and get iced tea and do that. I'm not going to stay sober if I do that. But just, those things that interested me. The cravings are going to be there. So or they might be there. For me, they went away fairly quickly. But I know a lot of people where they did not go away. And the other thing that I found that helps people a lot is talking. Like you just told us that, and talking to other sober alcoholics, like on the phone or a Zoom call or whatever, talking to them, telling them how you're feeling, because they're going to relate, and they can help you through it. And just the act of doing that is going to help quell those cravings for the time you're talking to them. And when the cravings are getting really bad to where you want it, you just got to go get a drink. Wait 15 minutes. We've talked about this. This is in our program as well, is wait that 15 minutes. Do something else, or try to just get busy. Fold laundry for 15 minutes. Something that takes you away. And if that doesn't work, take another 15 minutes. Just take it 1 minute at a time and try to push it off and keep busy. Get your mind onto other things. That's why in a lot of programs they tell people, go help somebody. And how do you do that? Well, we go volunteer to serve food at a soup kitchen, or maybe you have a relative that needs their lawn mowed or something, and they're just not that physically able to do it. Go do that, something like that. I'm just making stuff up, but there's many different ways you can help.
Absolutely. Hannelore says, I'm wired to see problems too, stems from childhood. I can also feel paranoid that everyone is watching me, but I can also feel very alone when no one seems to notice me. Well, I think the key is just to remember that you are here, you are on this earth, and, people aren't really paying attention to what you're doing as much as you would think. And also, when you're alone, it's a temporary thing. Maybe it's time to just spend some time with yourself, a book, something to listen to, one of our talks, if that helps. And just be okay. Learning to be alone is a very, very important thing in sobriety. Learning to just be okay. I used to have something to get me through being alone because I couldn't stand it. Now I could go out there and sit on the grass and be alone for as long as I want. Don't have to read, don't have to listen. I could just be alone and look at a tree. And I think that's a good thing to have, is to realize that, right? Because it's all the solutions are there. Like if you're alone and lonely, find some sober friends or find some people. They're everywhere. There's literally people like right there. I could throw a ball and reach like 5 different houses right now if I want to. Probably not with my arm. I could probably reach like 50 feet, but you get the idea. And the point is there's people everywhere. So it's not necessarily people don't like me. It's I've just been in the wrong crowds. There's other people who will like it. Like, that's what the internet has taught us, is that there's all kinds of people who are into all kinds of things, like weird stuff. Like, there's groups of people that are like, we like folding paper. It's like, really? That's a thing? And it's like a million people who like to fold paper, or people who like ASMR, or whatever. And I learned this early on when I used to be a preacher. There was church people. When I used to be a magician, there was magic friends and all kinds of things. Get out there, do stuff. It's not about you. Right? It's not a reflection on you. Like, if someone doesn't like you, you could look at it as data and say, well, why don't they like me? Is it something I'm doing? Probably not. So I'll find some other people. Maybe it's something with them, right? Everyone's got their own bag. Everyone's dealing with their own stuff. You're no different. We're all here. We're all doing it together. Some people are just rude. Like, there's some people in my family that I choose to not have in my life. Very difficult to do. Very difficult. Like, when you have to say, no, I'm not going to have this person in my life. One of the most difficult things you'll ever do. But, I had to stand my ground there and say, this is the problem with that person. I'm not going to let them in my life. End of story. Right? And I found out, like, it's not my bad. Like, everyone wants to tell me, oh, it's your bad. You should suck it up and go. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to suck it up. I'm not going to do it. This guy did something wrong. I don't need to be part of that. There you go. Right? So we got to look at that. Yes, I did used to be a magician.
Thank you, Megan, for the accolades. Appreciate that. Armando, it's good to see you on the other side of drinking. Yeah, Armando said he used to drink and watch a show all the time, and now he's on the other side. And he has 5 months alcohol-free today, and life is just so much better. And that's awesome, man. I don't know if you've been here I've seen you here before many times. But anyways, that's great. And if any of you are drinking today and you feel you need to quit, you can do it. And we're not here to tell you that you need to stop drinking. It's really up to you. Your sobriety is your responsibility, and if you feel you need to get sober, we can help you with that. Definitely. There's ways to get sober, and you can get a better life if your life is not so great.
Absolutely. And for everyone who does want to continue on and talk to us more throughout the week, check out talksober.com. You can get a private call with me and Terry and join our online recovery class. We have purposely made these extremely affordable so that everyone can get the help they need. Obviously, we're not here just to sell stuff. Like, obviously, you could be on these calls. We don't charge you nothing for those. But if you do want to support the show and get some more tools and everything to help you get and stay sober, go to talksober.com, click on that big yellow button, and we'll get you the stuff you need. Or you could do the private call with us as well. Guys, stay sober. Keep at it. Realize life goes on. We're going to be okay. And we'll see you next week. And smash the like button.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, cool. We on for